Hi, I am Jeanette Kwakye. I am a former British sprinter, five-time British champion, Olympic finalist over the 100 meters, as well as a world indoor silver medalist. And this is me doing Athletics Weekly Ask the Athlete. You've been sending in your questions, okay? And I've got them all here to answer. I'll be as honest as I can. So here goes. The first one. Do you miss competing on the track, and do you find your broadcast career more nerve-wracking? I think I retired at the right time, don't you? I definitely did. I think the crop of sprinters that we've got coming through now that are there and established, the female ones are absolutely phenomenal. I like to think that I had a good track career. Yeah, had a few injuries, might get into that a bit later, but actually I don't miss the track competition. In fact, if anything, I miss the social side of things, the team element, the travel side. But I get a lot of that now from my broadcast career. So I'm very, very lucky in that sense. I do find my broadcast career very nerve-wracking. I used to find it actually crippling. I was crippled with nerves when I first started. I used to get my heart rate used to go up, my stomach used to go when I was going live in particular. But other than that, now I love it. It's very much like with sport. Yes, you're going to have some big occasions where you do get nervous, and I do treat my big occasions in sports broadcasting the same way I treat my race day. I'd have a playlist. I'll make sure that I'm prepped, eat right, training beforehand, and everything else. So, as much as I love the track, don't miss it. But yeah, for sure, the nerves in broadcasting, especially live, does give me the same kind of buzz. Next question. Your personal 100 meter best is 11.14, yes. With both Dina Asher-Smith and Dalnita going sub 11, how do you compare British sprinting to when you competed? What we're seeing with the girls now is absolutely phenomenal, and so it should be. Listen, I ran that my time in 2008, so 13 years ago. I'd be very depressed if the girls now were unable to completely blow that out of the water. I think it's really important that we have that level of progress, because we've got some of the best girls in the world, we've got some of the best resources in the world, and I would want nothing more for them to be able to keep on smashing through the sub 11 barriers. I'd want at least 4 or 5 girls a season to be able to do that. That shows progress, that shows where we're going. And also for women in sport to be able to be those beacons and say they can be just as good as the Jamaicans, Americans, and the sprinting powerhouses. So yeah, it's definitely moved on. I mean, look at Elaine and Shelley, what they're able to do and how quick they're able to run is just brilliant. So yeah, I don't think that I would want to be in this era right now, because it'd be very competitive. We all know how competitive I can be, but I'd like to think I'd be able to give everybody a run for their money if I still was competing right now. Next question. Do you have any regrets from your track career? It's a tough one, because it's quite easy to look back in hindsight, isn't it, and say, oh yeah, I should have done this, should have done that. And I think in the moment when you're competing, you're within that athlete bubble, you like to think no regrets. That actually every decision and action is something that you learn from, whether it goes in your favour or not. Very, very important for me. In fact, super important. I maybe look back on my career and wish maybe we trained a bit smarter. I look at my injuries now that I had back then and think to myself, what could we have done to make sure those injuries didn't come about, and maybe just a bit smarter in terms of the way that we looked at my body and what worked for me. But other than that, listen, I had a great relationship with my coach, Mike Afalaka, and some fantastic training partners over the years. So no regrets really. And everything that didn't necessarily work out, I learned from massively, and still learning from, to be fair. So yeah, no regrets over there. What was the biggest surprise or shock from the Olympics or Paralympics in Tokyo? The biggest shock for me at the Olympic Games was Marcel Lamont-Jacobs winning the men's 100 meters for Italy. I think for a lot of people, they were like, yes, it's quite a wide open men's 100 meter final, but to see that was a bit, wow, like this is incredible what he was able to do and just rise to the occasion. He joined such an illustrious list of male sprinters when it comes down to Olympic sprinting. I don't think he quite believed it himself. So that for me was the biggest shock of the games, the men's 100 meters for sure. But the Paralympic Games, I actually think everything pretty much went according to plan with the Paralympics. There were some wonderful, wonderful moments. Owen winning the men's 1500 T, I think it was T20, 1500 meters, where he couldn't believe it. He won. There were some really nice moments, actually. And I just think that that's the beauty of the games, right? You know, you have these incredible moments where you want to be shocked, you want to be surprised, because that is the magic of sport and the power of sport as well. So those are probably my 2 picks. Sorry about that. Right, next. What have been your best or worst moments interviewing trackside? Oh, best moments probably come from Doha 2019, because you get to interview 2 world champions in Dina Asher-Smith and Katarina Johnson-Thompson, a year out from what we thought would be the 2020 Olympic Games. Brilliant moments, really lovely, because both deserved massively. Then I'd flip that and say my worst moments was talking to both of them after the Games this year and how challenging that was. Probably 2 of the toughest interviews I've ever had to do, because I was aware that going into the Games, in particular for Kat, she was hurt, and you know, all day I'd had this really crazy anxiety just to make sure she could just get through every event. And she looked like she was doing so well up until the 200 meters. And to see her say she didn't want to get in the chair and make her way to the finish line was pretty special. She didn't actually speak on camera after. I had a very brief conversation with her before she went down to the back through the mix zone. And it was important. She didn't want to speak. She didn't want to talk about it right now. And I got that. So in that instance, you know, as a journalist, as a reporter, I can't force anyone to do anything or speak if they don't want to. So that was really, really tough. And of course, the Dina Asher-Smith interview was really, really challenging. Obviously, I know Dina on a personal level as well as professional level. So to have to conduct that and allow that to breathe and to give it the platform it needed was important. So yeah, really tough, actually. And I needed a bit of a lie down after both of those moments. Always quite awkward when that happens. Did you have any superstitions you swore by pre-competition as an athlete? No, I didn't. I am not a superstitious person at all, because I just did not want anything external to affect me like that, whether it was magic socks, lucky pants, you know, whichever way the wind is blowing, what number bib you got. That was not my vibe at all, because I didn't need it. I needed everything that I could control to be within my control, and not a superstition to kind of make me believe that things were going to go a certain way, because they never do. It's always different. Every race is different. So never had a superstition. Sorry, that's a boring answer, but no, didn't it? The best trackside interview you've ever given? I love talking to Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce. And I love talking to her because I raced against her when I was an athlete. When actually she was 21, I was 25. When she was 21 when she first came on the scene, and she's still here. I'd love speaking to her in Doha. Doha was really special because she'd had a son, and to see her do what she did out in Doha at the World Champs and then come through and speak about the importance of being a mum was just beautiful. And it's so rare that we're seeing that now, where women are coming and winning and being able to give these interviews that are so empowering. So for me, talking to Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce about being a mum, being a champion, a world champion, is pretty special, man. I think that I appreciate it more now that I'm a mum, and I just would never even think about training at that level of being a mum. It's just so much hard work. But what she's been able to do has been absolutely brilliant. She's always a good interview. Who else do I enjoy interviewing? I like interviewing Carsten Warholm. He always stops to chat. He's lovely, really, really friendly as well. And yeah, those two for me are up there in terms of good chats trackside. What do I think of the current DSD rules, and do I think they're fair? I think when it comes down to DSD, I think there's so much more that needs to be looked at. I think it's hard to make a judgment and an assumption based on what I believe is quite limited science at the moment. So it's quite hard to comment on, because not all the facts are there. You know, I've seen some quite hard and harsh things that have been directed towards DSD athletes, and I think we need to be quite kind. In terms of fairness, what is fair? You know, what is fair? We need to be able to have concrete facts in front of us to be able to determine how things need to be able to be, so we can move forward and everybody has a compromise in a situation that could potentially be quite tricky. So I do believe genuinely there needs to be a lot more information before we start making decisions that are permanent and decisions that affect athletes in the long run. So yeah, hopefully in the next few years we'll be able to really get our heads around what it means to be a DSD athlete, not just physically, but emotionally as well. Let's remember that everybody's a human being first before they are an athlete. That is important for me in particular to remember when I'm doing trackside interviews and making sure that I'm measuring emotions as well. Do you think Elaine Thompson-Herah, do you think Elaine Thompson-Herah will break Florence Griffiths joiner's world record next year? Had a long chat with Elaine for the BBC a few months ago, and her shape towards the end of this season was just absolutely phenomenal. It's a crazy world record, guys. And I said to her, I didn't ever think in my lifetime or my generation for sure that I'd see that go. But what she did this year, yeah, for sure. Why not? If she stays fit and healthy, she'll have this rollover from this year, which pushes her forward to even faster times if she gets it right. If she doesn't necessarily stay as fit or as healthy, or whatever happens between now and next season, then it's going to be a tall order, because it is a very, very, very quick time. Let us not underestimate just how quick that is, or how rare something like that is. In my opinion, if she breaks that, it's a better achievement than a Usain Bolt world record. In my opinion, DMs are open if you want to ask me any questions about it, but I genuinely believe that is, for me, one of the biggest, greatest sporting achievements of all time, if she's able to do that in any sport. So I'm kind of on the fence, guys. If she stays fit, yes. If not, then maybe might have to look for a few more years or see someone else come through to be able to do that. But where's the World Championships next year? It's one of the fastest tracks in the world. And if she's able to kind of get herself together, then you may see something so magical happen there out in Oregon. Okay, next question. How do you reflect on that post-race interview with Dina Asher-Smith? And how do you think she'll do at next year's World Championships? As I said earlier, probably one of the hardest things I've ever had to do in my job. You couldn't see my face when I'm talking to Dina, but I was crying because I understood what it meant. I understood the power of sport in that moment for Dina to see that she herself hadn't necessarily achieved what she wanted to do. She knew how close she was to being as fit as she could have been at an Olympic Games, but sometimes the body doesn't allow for that to happen. And that's a shame. It happened to me at London 2012. You know, you may go into a season in the best shape of your life, and then weeks out from the said race or the said championships, your body just says, this isn't going to happen this summer. And it happened for Dina, and that was unfortunate. So on reflection, it was important that she had the platform to be able to tell her truth and explain why that had happened. I thought that was major important, because for athletes these days, it is about them owning the narrative and not having people speculate. So if they can say what it is, then by all means, if I'm got the ability, I'll give them the platform to be able to do that. And then for her chances at the World Champs next year, she's fit, she's ready, she's got a 200-meter title to defend. Don't let that go that easily. It's not going to be easy, but she's up to the task. Of course, she's a competitive athlete. We've seen her, we know what she can do. So would you want your 200-meter World Championship title to go just like that? Don't think you would. So if she's up for it, of course she will be, then I don't see any other reason as to why she can't be well within the mix to make sure that, you know, there's a gold medal that is there for her in the States next year, which is exciting, isn't it, actually? World Championships in Oregon when I think about it. Such a quick track. I never got to race there though. Okay, next question. What do you think athletics could do to become more TV friendly? What needs to change about TV coverage in the sport? I get this question a lot, okay? And I work as part of the team that brings you the coverage. I'm very proud to be part of the team, a very hard-working production team that actually does that. We have a really good set of pundits, presenters, and people behind the scenes that have to really think about the best way to put this across. Track and field as a TV product is one of the hardest, if not the hardest things to broadcast, because there are so many things going on. You could have a race going off, you could have a jumps competition going off, or 2 jumps competitions going off, and you could have a throwing competition going off. At any one point, there could be 4 things happening on the track or in the field. To be able to broadcast that is really challenging because you want to be able to tell the story and give the build up. I genuinely believe there needs to be more of a build up around the athletes themselves, the personal stories, the human interest side of things. I genuinely believe there needs to be something where people can also measure context in terms of what these athletes are doing, because that's what blows people's minds. People often think when they see athletes that it's a normal thing to do. Oh, look at them. They're training, they can run around for, 25 laps or however long it is. The reality is people don't know in real terms what that looks like. So I would love to be able to broadcast a way where people see that in real terms. Sometimes I see people have a bit of a joke about having a lane 9 or lane 10 in a race where you just put an average Joe, someone who's, quite fit, never really done competitive sport, but put them alongside, professional athletes, just to see the gulf in terms of actually, this is what elite is, this is what isn't. Yeah, it might make it entertaining. Don't want to make a fool out of anyone, but I do feel there needs to be some sort of context. I know people aren't necessarily always happy with the fact that field events aren't shown as much. And I get that, I hear it loud, but field events are probably really the hardest part of athletics broadcast because of the time in between the throws and making sure that there is enough time to be able to digest what we've seen from the athlete, but also at the same time keep people engaged and interested. People switch off these days, and a lot of the time things are changing in terms of how we consume our sport as well. But I definitely feel there needs to be more of a human interest element to athletics, and be a bit more creative in the way that it looks. It doesn't always have to be on the telly as well. You can have it digital. There's nothing wrong with that. Bite-sized chunks of sport is good. That's how people consume things these days, and they'll go back to find it if they want to. So just being a bit creative, I think, is the answer. I know everyone's shouting at me now, but it's just how I see it. Okay, and final question. If you had to pick a dream team all-time mixed 4x100 meter relay squad, who would be in it and in what order? All-time mixed 4x1 relay. Oh my goodness, that's hard. Okay, then you'd have to go with for your finalists, right? Olympic finalists and world finalists over 100 meters. That's just how I'm seeing it. Okay, so let's think about this. Olympic finalists over 100 meters. Women, that's me and Darren, isn't it? So myself and Daryl Nita are the last 2 women to do that. So it'd be me and Daryl. And the men, let me get this right. Good God. Okay, you'd have to put Linford in there because he's won it. So Linford Christie. And then who would be my last person? Oh my goodness. It would probably have to be, oh my God, Darren Campbell, Jason Gardner, or Marlon Devonish, and I can't pick out of the 3 who'd that be. If I had to pick one, I think it would be Darren, because Darren Campbell is that guy. He kind of G's us up. He gets everybody excited, and he's got the vibe. So myself, Daryl, Linford, and Darren, and in the order, I'd start it. I'd hand to Darren on the back straight, and then it's a toss-up between Linford and Daryl for anchor, but probably Daryl on the top bend and then Linford to bring it home. That's my answer. And I'm sticking with it. I hope you enjoy it. But thank you. I've enjoyed these questions. Really, really enjoyed these questions. As always, you can get at me at social. If there's anything you want to ask me, I'm on all the social channels. Just search my name and I'll pop up. But here's to a very, very busy athletics season for 2022, World Indoors, Commonwealth Games, Europeans, World Championships. I hope to be at as many of them as I can, bringing you trackside interviews or studio greatness, let's just say that. But yeah, thank you so much.